Welcome to a new video guide series about advanced call routing on Grandstream UCM solutions. This video guide series is structured into several parts and sections to allow you to easily skip to your specific topic of interest. Grandstream UCM solutions offer advanced call routing methods, allowing every business to customize their call flow to fit their operational needs. In this video, we will cover outbound call routing, which allows the UCM to decide how to handle outgoing calls through a specific trunk. We will explain and demonstrate how to set up routing patterns, time condition scheduling, and call routing failover, following the information included in this configuration example. The UCM is configured with two trunks, SIP and analog. The SIP trunk is used for normal call operations, while the analog trunk is strictly used for emergency calls and failover if the SIP trunk is down. The first task in this configuration is to create an outbound rule for 10-digit numbers through the SIP trunk while ensuring the analog trunk is used as a failover. The UCM is already configured with the SIP and analog trunks required for this configuration, and they are registered and reachable respectively. Go to Outbound Routes, click Add, and enter a name for the new route. The SIP provider in this example has a 10-digit numbers requirement for dialing, so we need to enter a pattern that matches 10-digit numbers. The matching pattern can be configured with wildcards such as X dot. The X character matches any single digit in the range 0 through 9, and the dot character matches one or more digits in the range 0 through 9. Hover over the setting to get the text box that lists these patterns, along with their description. Instead of using pattern wildcards, we will define a more explicit pattern for 10-digit numbers. This pattern indicates the dialed number must be exactly 10 digits long, and the first and fourth digits cannot be 0 or 1. It is always recommended to make the route patterns more explicit to avoid routing confusion, especially when the UCM is configured with multiple outbound routes. Next, we select the trunk that will be associated with the current outbound route. In this configuration, we need to select the SIP trunk. To ensure voice service continuity, the outbound route can be configured with a failover trunk. If outbound calls through the SIP trunk fail, the UCM will automatically route calls through the analog trunk. While the outbound route is configured to route 10-digit numbers, the PSTN line requires 11 digits as shown in our configuration example. We need to use the prepend option to add the leading one. The prepend option is used to automatically add digits to the beginning of a dialed number before the call is sent through the trunk. Another example of using the prepend feature is when users dial 7-digit numbers for local calls. Since the SIP trunk requires 10-digit numbers dialing, the local area code can be entered in the prepend option so the UCM can add it to the dialed 7-digit number before the call is sent to the SIP provider. For this configuration, we will enter 1 so the UCM will send the dialed number as 11 digits to meet the PSTN requirement. When using multiple trunks, you can configure up to 10 failover trunks for the outbound route. In this example, the local phone book on the IP phones includes contact entries with 11 digits. The existing outbound route can only process calls for 10-digit numbers. We need to set up the UCM to process calls for the dialed 11-digit numbers and send them as 10-digit numbers. To achieve that, we need to add a new outbound route. Set the matching pattern to 11 digits. Select the SIP trunk as the main trunk. Because the SIP provider requires 10 digits for dialed numbers, we will set the strip option to 1. The strip feature is used to remove a specific number of leading digits from a dialed phone number before the call is sent on the trunk. Like the existing 10-digit outbound rule, we need to add the analog trunk as a failover trunk. In this case, we will not use the prepend option because the dialed numbers already meet the analog trunk 11-digit requirement. The UCM supports the option to set time conditions for outbound routes to ensure outbound calls are only made during specific hours, days, or holidays. One key benefit of setting a time condition for an outbound route is to enhance security by preventing unauthorized after-hours calls. It can also be implemented to route calls through different outbound routes based on time and day. There are two modes for time condition. When set to use main trunk or failover trunk, the outbound route, including the configured failover, will only take effect during the defined time condition. For instance, if time condition is set to use office time, the configuration parameters of this outbound route, including failover routing, will be used only during the defined office time. For the time condition to take effect, the office time and holidays must be already configured under System Settings, Time Settings. The other mode is Prioritize Specific Trunks. When this mode is enabled, if the outbound call matches the outbound route parameters, it will be permitted and processed, except during the time conditions defined here. For example, outbound calls will always be permitted through this outbound route as long as they match the configured parameters. When a time condition is added in this mode and set to out-of-office time, outbound calls are not routed through the main or failover trunk. Instead, they will be routed through the trunk that is defined under this option. Essentially, this mode is used to create a time-based exception for call routing on the same outbound route. Also, it is worth noting that the strip and prepend values of the main trunk will be automatically used for the trunks with the time condition. The same time condition also needs to apply to the existing 10-digit route. Failover trunk toggles is an advanced feature that controls when failover trunks are used based on the SIP response code received from the SIP provider. This list of SIP response codes indicate various failure types, ranging from 486 code for busy line to server failures, where a call cannot proceed because of server unavailability. If the UCM receives a response code that is listed under the selected box, the UCM will not trigger the failover trunk configured under the outbound route. The only response code that is selected by default is 486, which stands for busy. Scheduled sync is a special feature that can be used to modify the configured patterns for the outbound routes through a TFTP server. This could be useful if you have many outbound routes that constantly require changing the matching pattern. This feature requires the use of a CSV file and a TFTP server. The CSV file includes 3 fields for trunk, name, outbound name, and pattern. If an outbound name in the CSV file does not exist on the UCM, a new outbound route with the outbound name will be added to the outbound routes on the UCM. If you have multiple outbound routes with different patterns, ensure the routes with the most specific pattern are listed first to avoid unexpected routing. Outbound routes are triggered according to their ID number. When an outbound route is triggered because the conditions are met, any subsequent routes will not apply. You can move outbound routes up or down using the arrow icons. This concludes this video guide about outbound route configuration using dialing pattern, time condition, and failover. In the next video, we will cover the features for outbound call restrictions. Thank you for watching.